LBC is a British phone-in and talk radio station. A few days ago, LBC were airing discussions on the situation with West Ham footballer Kurt Zouma and the physical assault of his family cat. It was during this discussion that animal rights activist Ed Winters was invited on to give a different perspective on the topic.
We should also definitely look at the bigger picture here, which is, why is it wrong to slap a cat but not to put pigs in gas chambers for a bacon sandwich, or to cut the throat of dairy cows because we want to have a glass of milk with our breakfast in the morning? So there is a bigger issue here at play, which we sometimes overlook with our kind of outrage at instances such as this one, but not at the bigger picture.
Now, LBC is a phone-in station, like I said, and after hearing Ed's section, one animal farmer picked up the phone to set the record straight with all the listeners. So let's hear what he had to say.
You treat your animals well with compassion and not cruelty. But it's the circle of life, and it's just how it is and how it's always been. But you think we've become over sentimental about our pets rather than our farm animals, though?
That's right. But your guy said he said there was an underlying trend that pigs are put in a gas chamber. Pigs are put in CO2 to make them drowsy so they don't see what's coming when they're shot.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you for ending on that compassionate and pragmatic note.
Okay, so two things have happened here. Firstly, we've heard an animal rights activist saying that pigs are put into gas chambers, which sounds pretty awful. And then we have an actual animal farmer, albeit a sheep farmer, saying that what pigs experience in these CO2 chambers is actually just a gentle fall into unconsciousness. So what are we to believe here? Are gas chambers really as humane as the farmer wants everyone to believe? Well, let's look at the facts. Firstly, I want to share that in the UK, where LBC is broadcast, over 86% of all the pigs who are killed for their flesh are put into these CO2 chambers. Not only that, but CO2 chambers have quickly become the most common method of stunning and or slaughtering chickens and turkeys in the UK as well. This is because it is usually the cheapest and quickest way to kill many animals at once. Something I always notice when CO2 gassing is brought up is that it's almost always labelled as the most humane method of stunning or killing an animal. By using that word humane, it really does tend to conjure up the image that the farmer tried to paint for us of animals gently falling to sleep. However, when we look into it, it becomes clear that rather than calling in to tell the truth, it was quite obviously nothing more than an attempt at damage control. Yes, he was purposefully lying to the radio listeners. So here's the truth for you, in plain black and white. CO2 is known to be highly adversive to pigs. Inhalation of CO2 causes acute respiratory distress through irritation of the mucous membranes. Respiratory distress causes hyperventilation, a sense of breathlessness, gasping, and suffocation. Pigs also display muscular excitation, or thrashing, and vocalization, or screaming, when exposed to CO2, and all of this occurs before the loss of consciousness. Now, while I cannot condone the use of animals in studies, especially ones where the animals are forced to endure suffering, they are quite useful to look at for trying to learn more about this topic. For example, behavioural studies have shown that the majority of pigs avoid or quickly withdraw from high atmospheric concentrations of CO2. In the study linked on screen, almost 90% of pigs preferred to go without water for 72 hours rather than experience exposure to CO2. This other study conducted in Germany also found that concentration of 80% of CO2 over 70 seconds is not actually sufficient to stun pigs properly. In other words, pigs are being forced to endure this horrific experience, only to then have their throat cut whilst they're still conscious and bleed to death. The science is very clear that CO2 gassing causes both fear and pain. The fact is that these are young, innocent, highly intelligent and emotional animals that we then transport to a new location that they've never been before, where we then force them to walk into these gas chambers, only for them to begin suffocating and to experience a burning sensation, whilst they also can't even see any threat because the gas is invisible, and we don't give them any chance to escape or barely even to move. There is no way to humane wash this. This is unjustifiable, it is animal abuse, and it is torture. And it is all being done for a product that we don't need, a product that is linked to health issues, and that is environmentally unsustainable. All animals, be they human, dog, pig, chicken, lion, whatever, are not resources or objects. At the end of the day, we all share the commonality in that we are all sentient beings. And so I think the easiest way for us to decide if a gas chamber is humane isn't to listen to the radio and hear what a vegan says or what a farmer says, but it's just to look at it for ourselves and decide if we would happily trade places with the animal who is forced to endure it.